He didn't even notice the subway doors closing behind him. One wrong step and he could have fallen into the gap. But something made him freeze right there on the cold, graffiti-stained platform. A melody floated through the station, raw and trembling, and for a moment it cut through the usual roar of trains, screeching brakes, and the chatter of people glued to their phones. He looked up, adjusting his cufflinks, shielding his eyes from the harsh fluorescent lights, and for the first time in years, the world outside his golden bubble stopped existing. A girl stood near the far edge, her hair tied loosely, clothes patched and worn. Her voice wasn't trained, but it didn't need to be. It grabbed him in the chest, dug deep, and refused to let go. Every note trembled with something he hadn't felt in decades: pain, hope, longing, raw beauty. He leaned against the railing, arms crossed, trying not to stare, trying not to feel, but the ache in his chest betrayed him. He felt a lump forming, a tension that refused to release itself. "Hey, can you sing that again?" A passerby asked softly, hesitating. The girl shook her head, her eyes fixed on the floor. "Sorry, I don't," she murmured, her voice catching. He didn't know why, but he stepped closer, his shoes clicking against the cracked tiles. "It's beautiful," he said, his voice low, almost afraid. "I've never heard anything like it." The girl looked up finally. Her eyes widened, not in fear, but in a mix of confusion and disbelief. You mean it?" she whispered. The billionaire, used to flattery that was hollow, that faded after a moment, nodded. "I don't lie about things like this. I feel it. Every word, every note." Something broke in her then. A tremor ran through her frame and she lowered her head again, trying to vanish into the crowd. He wanted to tell her that she didn't have to hide, that the world deserved to hear her. But he didn't know how to say it without sounding like the man he was: wealthy, powerful, untouchable. I'm just someone, singing to pass the time," she muttered, voice small. He smiled softly, almost sadly. "Someone who should be on a stage. Not here." She blinked. "The stage?" Her lips quivered. I don't have." "You do," he interrupted gently, surprising himself. "You have something no money can buy. Talent, heart, courage. You're extraordinary." Her eyes filled with tears and she looked away, ashamed. "I'm just me," she said. "Just you is exactly what the world needs," he said, feeling something stirring inside him. A feeling long buried. Empathy, perhaps. Something he'd spent a lifetime trying to ignore. The train roared in, rattling the platform, and people surged forward. He stepped aside but didn't move away, keeping his eyes on her. Every note she sang, every trembling sigh, pulled at the corners of his heart. He remembered his childhood, long ago, when music had been the only thing that kept him sane, when he dreamed of a world bigger than his small, suffocating apartment. But then life had gotten louder than music. Money, power, expectations. He had lost touch with feeling. And now here she was. This girl, this fragile, trembling, beautiful voice, was reminding him of what he had forgotten. Why do you sing here?" he asked finally, genuinely curious. She hesitated. "Because I have to. Because if I don't know what I'd do." Her voice cracked and she buried her face in her hands. He took a step closer, his voice lower, more intimate. "I know the feeling. That ache. That fear that the world won't notice. But it does notice. It notices now." Her gaze met his again, searching. "You really mean that?" "Yes," he said. "I do." For a long moment, neither spoke. The subway screeched in the background, the city moved around them, but they existed in a bubble of sound and raw emotion. His chest tightened, an unfamiliar weight pressing down. He hadn't realized he could feel this strongly. Not in years. Not like this. Then something unexplainable happened. He felt recognition stir in the back of his mind, a memory buried beneath years of business deals and boardrooms. Something about her eyes, the curve of her jaw, the way she sang with that particular tremor of vulnerability, it seemed familiar, but impossible. He shook his head, telling himself he was imagining things. Billionaires didn't get these gut feelings. They got facts, numbers, and outcomes. And yet, every note she sang, every breath she took, felt like it was unlocking a door he thought had been sealed forever. "You're incredible," he said again, voice almost breaking. "Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise." She swallowed hard, wiping her tears. "Thank you for noticing." "Noticing isn't enough," he said quietly, almost to himself. "I have to do more." And with that, the train doors closed behind him, and he stayed standing there, heart pounding, realizing that something had changed. Something inside him had shifted, and he couldn't go back to the man he had been before. The next day, he found himself waking earlier than usual, restless. It wasn't business or meetings driving him, it was the memory of her voice, fragile yet unyielding, echoing in his mind. Every sound of the city, the honking cars, distant sirens, the chatter of commuters, faded behind it. He couldn't get her out of his head. By mid-morning he was back at the same subway station, though he tried to tell himself it was coincidence, necessity even. But the instant he stepped onto the platform, the world seemed to slow. She was there, humming softly, her voice trembling over the hum of the arriving train. She hadn't seen him yet. He watched, heart thudding. "You're really something," he muttered under his breath, as though saying it aloud would somehow make it real. She paused, glanced up, and their eyes met. She froze for a moment, recognition, or maybe curiosity, in her gaze. "You again?" she asked quietly, unsure if she wanted him to approach. "I couldn't stop thinking about yesterday," he admitted. "Your singing, it stayed with me." Her lips parted slightly, hesitation in her eyes. "Why does anyone even care?" she asked, almost bitter, almost afraid. "I'm just some nobody." "You're nobody?" His voice was sharp now, tinged with frustration he didn't know he could feel. "Do you know how many people would give anything to hear a voice like yours? To have even a fraction of your courage?" She looked away, tugging at the hem of her sleeve. "Courage? You think it takes courage to sing to empty faces and deaf ears?" "It does," he said firmly. "It takes more courage than I've ever had in my life." She laughed softly, a humorless, bitter laugh. "Then maybe you're richer than you think." "I can't believe it," he whispered through choked tears, almost to himself. "After all these years, it's really you." She paused, looking at him, her own tears mingling with the sweat of the platform lights. You know me?" "Yes," he said, voice thick. "I know you. And I've wasted too long forgetting. But not anymore. Not now." The tremor in her voice returned, but this time with something else. A spark, a recognition, a tiny glimmer of hope. Then help me," she said softly, voice breaking. "Please, help me be heard." "I will," he said, taking a hesitant step closer. "Whatever it takes. You've waited long enough. You deserve the world, and I'll make sure you get it." Her singing began again, this time full-bodied, fearless. Every note rang out like a defiance of the years she'd spent unnoticed, every breath a declaration that she was not invisible. And as she sang, he realized something he hadn't felt in decades: humility, awe, and a kind of love that wasn't romantic but deeper, human, pure, and unwavering. For the first time, the billionaire wept openly, the years of armor and control melting away in the face of raw talent and perseverance. He felt every moment he had ignored, every mistake, every opportunity missed, dissolve into one single thought. He could not waste another second. And in that small, grimy subway station, with the cold steel of the rails beneath them, two lives collided, one world of wealth and power, one of struggle and resilience. And for the first time they met as equals, bound by music, emotion, and the undeniable force of destiny. The following days were surreal. He made arrangements quietly, carefully, wanting nothing more than to give her the opportunities she deserved without overwhelming her. He found a small recording studio, hired a vocal coach she could trust, and arranged auditions for local venues. Every step he took, every phone call, every email, it was all for her. She was hesitant at first, uncertain if this was real, if she deserved it, if anyone could truly care. But every time she sang, he was there, quietly in the corner, letting her know she wasn't alone. "You're going to change the world," he told her one evening as they walked through the empty subway platform after a long session. "And I'll be here to make sure it happens." She looked at him, eyes wide, tears catching in the subway lights. "I've never had anyone believe in me like this," she whispered. "And now you do," he said softly. "And I always will." The first public performance was small, a community event, nothing fancy, but she sang like the world was listening, because now it truly was. And in the crowd he watched her, chest tight, tears sliding down his cheeks. He had seen many performances, many achievements, many accolades, but nothing compared to this. Her courage, her resilience, her unwavering heart, shone brighter than any gold he had ever touched. After the performance, she approached him, breathless, flushed with excitement and nerves. "I did it," she said, voice trembling with triumph. "You did," he confirmed, his own voice breaking. "And the world saw it. They saw you." She smiled through tears, laughing softly, incredulous. "All this, for me?" "For you," he said firmly. "You deserved it yesterday, last year, and 10 years ago. But it's not too late. It's never too late." As the weeks passed, her music began to spread. Local stations featured her. A few viral clips appeared online. She was still herself, humble, quiet, focused, but there was a new strength in her step, a spark in her eyes. He watched her thrive, and with every success he felt lighter, freer. He had given back what he had missed giving, and it healed something inside him he didn't even realize had been broken. One evening, after a long day of recording, they sat together on the same subway platform where it had all started. The city's lights blurred through the rain-streaked windows, the trains rumbling below. She hummed softly, not performing, just letting the music flow, and he listened, entranced. "You know," she said quietly, "I never thought I'd be here. I never thought someone would see me, really see me." "I did," he replied, smiling softly. "And I always will." She looked at him, eyes glistening. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to," he said, voice low. "You just have to keep being you. Keep singing. Keep living. That's thanks enough." And for a long while, they sat there in silence, letting the world move around them, letting the years of struggle and doubt wash away in the quiet hum of the subway. He had cried before, once, twice in private, but never like this. Not for joy, not for grief, not for love. For hope. For resilience. For life. And as she sang, softly, without performance or expectation, he realized something profound. The richest people aren't always those with money, power, or fame. Sometimes the richest are the ones who feel. The ones who recognize courage when it appears. The ones who see beauty where others walk past blind. He reached out gently, resting a hand on her shoulder, and she leaned slightly against him, trusting, letting herself be seen fully. They didn't need words. The music said everything. Every note, every pause, every trembling breath carried the story of struggle, of survival, of connection. And in that moment, on that rainy subway platform, two lives that had been shaped by very different worlds, one of struggle, one of privilege, found harmony. Not because of chance, not because of fate alone, but because they had dared to listen, to care, and to believe in something greater than themselves. The station lights flickered overhead, trains passed by, and life continued in its endless rush. But for them time had slowed. The world had narrowed to a single melody, a single heartbeat, a single truth. Some things, talent, courage, resilience, cannot be ignored. And sometimes, it takes someone willing to notice to remind us all of that. She finished her song, breathless, and smiled. He smiled back, tears shining in his eyes. And for the first time in years he felt whole.